Hey, what's up everybody? NFX here with another collection of ZGE visualizers for you. In this pack there's about 30 of them, which makes the total that I've released about 80. In this release, however, I'm going to give you guys a link to the entire collection. And for the Windows users out there, there will be an installer for it. So if you run the installer, it'll locate the directory that it needs to be in, and it'll copy everything over for you automatically. And hopefully it'll help you to use these effects much easier. In this video, I just want to cover some of the new ones that are in the pack. And you should be able to see the other 3 volumes. This is, I guess it would be like volume 4, but the link is going to have all of them together. When you do install it, you'll be able to find them under the drop down here called NFX Collection, and then there'll be another set of menus for different types of effects, because there were just so many that it got to a point where I had to split them up into different types of effects to help you to use them better. So with all that said, let's go ahead and begin. I have set up here a few things just to help me demo these a little quicker. And so the first effect that I want to show you guys is called bump mapped image. And what that'll do is that'll take an image and it'll make it appear to be kind of 3-dimensional. And you can see this is like the default image from FL Studio, and you can see how it looks like it's kind of got 3D lines to it. But you could take any image and apply this to it. For example, let me take the effect down and off. So this is how the normal image would look. Let me put a different image. I have this NFX Beats logo, and you could see how it looks. And if I start adding the bump depth, and I'm going to zoom in just so you could see it a little bit clearer. As I start increasing the effect, it starts to take on more texture, more 3D-ness of everything. So that's what that does. You can move the light source around and do some other things with it. I'm not going to try to go through every setting of every effect, so I'm just going to keep it moving. These are a collection of ones that I have done and ones that I've adapted from other people. I will mention the other people as needed. Otherwise, I'm probably the one that did it, unless I forget to mention them. But anyway, this is called Bump Mapped Image. We'll move on to Celtic Pattern. This is by a guy named POTUS. And this one is basically just what you see. It's a pattern. This is meant to be more of a background. You can control the color. There's 3 colors in this thing, and you can control each one. So you can make them all the same or different, or remove some and kind of just get the look and feel that you might want from it. This is meant to be more of a background, but it's there. Moving on, we'll go to one called CRT Display. This one makes something to look like an old school CRT. For those of you old enough to remember CRT televisions, or even video games before, flat screens, before LCDs and stuff like that. That's kind of the effect this is going for. The next one's called Cylinder Map. This one takes a cylinder. Well, actually, let me turn the transparency off. It takes a cylinder like that, and you can control various things like the tilt of the cylinder, and you can tilt it forward and backwards, etc. And it puts an image onto that cylinder. Now you can have the rotation on or off. You can see it's kind of lit up on the sides. There's all kinds of settings to deal with that. But the one I like is if you make it transparent, you can kind of rotate something around it in that manner. And as I probably showed you before with the one of the sphere ones I did in a previous one, you could take, like in this case, we're going to take a linear peak effect, and we're going to go ahead and pop it in here. And then when we hit play, you can see how we can map something and just spin it around, which I think is really a cool feature of Cylinder Map. Next one is called Deep Tunnel Reimagined. For that one, we need to feed it some kind of an image. So I'm going to go ahead and feed it this image. And you can see it's just basically an image that's wrapped as though you were inside of that cylinder, but it was rotating and you're traveling into it. You can mirror it. If you see a seam, like here you can see the seam, you can mirror it and it'll remove the seam. And you can control various things about it. But this is just also meant kind of as a background motion kind of thing. It's called Deep Tunnel Reimagined. Next one is called Dragon Skin Texture, and basically it's what it says. It looks like a kind of like a dragon skin. You can control various options here. One of the things you can also control is you can make it look hexagonal or scaly if needed, but the dragon skin texture is there. Some of these are meant to be used as backgrounds and or to fill in a mask. And what I mean by that is if I hit this, you can see that it takes that texture and then it makes it look as though the letters NFX are filled in with that texture. And a similar one is the next one I want to show you, which is called a Dungeon Crawl Hatching. This one was done by a user named Ozeg, and I'm going to go ahead and increase the size of it just so you can kind of see. It's these kind of scribbly lines that make up the thing, and it's either a background texture like that or you can use it to fill something like that. Next one is called Electric Edges. This one requires a specific type of picture with transparency, and we could actually use some HUD text. And I just had to go look to see what layer it's on. It's on layer D. And so you could see the HUD text there. Now I'm going to change the color of this HUD text a bit so you can see the effect actually popping out. And there you can see how those electric lines are popping out onto the into the letters, and that's what's the electric edges. And you can see how when it hits the edge, it kind of lights up the edges. And there's all kinds of settings you can use in here. Anything from how jaggy the lightning is to the thickness of the lightning. You could even put it so it's really busy with a lot of lightning arcs in it or just a few, and that sort of thing. So I'll go ahead and leave it up to you to play around with it, but it does require transparency. And what I mean by that is if it was an image without transparency like this, you're not going to see it because it uses the transparency to know where to put the lightning objects. Without transparency, it wouldn't necessarily know where the lightning goes. So that's that. That's Electric Edges. Next one's called Fiber Optics. Simple. This is just a background. You control various things about it. And it's just meant as a background thing. Next we have Fractal Noise Smoke. This one is just basic smoke. Again, you could use this one as part of a mask. Let me see what's going on here. Oh, I changed the color here. Let me set this back. You can use this as part of the mask if you wanted to fill in letters with smoke, for example, like that, or just have a background of smoke. And you control things like the color and various other parameters. The next one is called Hexagon X5. This one is done by a user named Byte Mechanic. I really like this one. It's kind of trippy. And what I do when I get these things from other people, I get them from a site called Shader Toy. And generally it's just an effect like you see. And that's all it does is what you see. And then what I'll do is I'll add a bunch of controls for it. So maybe you want to change the color. In the original, it didn't have that option, but I modify it so it has the various options for spinning and rotation and things like that. So, but I thought this was another cool one, and this one's by Byte Mechanic. The next one is one that I've done. It's called Eyeballs, and it's a bunch of eyes. If I go ahead and zoom in here, you can see they just randomly look around. You can control things like the bloodshotness of the eye, the size of the iris in the eye. You know, if you want a lot of them on the screen or just a few, all that's, you could see the controls for that. The next one is called a Jagged Audio Wave Mimic. And that's really all it does, is it does fake waveforms, 3 of them together. And you can control each one independently. Down here, wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3, they all have color controls, frequency, and amplitude controls. And yeah, it's not real audio. In other words, it's not really tied into audio, but I thought it would be a cool effect to use. The next one's called Laser Show. That's just like that. It's just like a laser show. The next one is called LED Grid Filter. And that takes an image and it makes it look like it's displayed with these round LEDs. And you can do things like make it dense or less dense, make the LEDs bigger or smaller, and that sort of thing. And that's the LED grid filter. The next one's another one by someone else. This one's called Metal Kaleidoscope. It's by a user called M Range or Mr. Ange. I don't know how this person likes their name said, so I'm just going to say it both ways. I've released some of this person's other effects in previous packs because they just have a really good style to them, and I thought this one looked really cool. The next one's called Neuron Network. This is one that I've done, and you can control things like the density and the size, and it's just like this flowy neuron network. You can control the color of the nodes, the flowing piece in the middle, which is kind of a light blue in this, and the line color. And you could also use it like this, or you can map it into a sphere if you want, and then with the sphere you can even do something like have it rotate. The rotation might be a little bit hard to see, but you can see there we can rotate in various sizes and get it in various structures. So that's called Neuron Network. This next one is called NFX Pan Zoom. This is not really a good name. It should just be called NFX Pan. But eventually I did want to add some zoom parameters to it, and so I called it NFX Pan Zoom. If I increase the effect, you'll just see what it does is it takes a picture and it just pans around the image. This is done so that it should never show you the edge of the image, should never go off the edge, so to just go within the boundaries of the image. And this is kind of meant to be used where you know, you have an image on the screen, and it probably works best with a low pan speed and a lower pan amount, where it just kind of slowly moves around the image, and that's just to give it some motion as a background. The next one's called Outside Edge Detector. This one also needs a transparent image. You can see that you can't really see anything going on here, but if we go back to that text, and the text is transparent around the outside, so there's a white line now that you can see, and that's what's going on. That's the effect. So if we wanted to, we can change that. Say we want to put a red edge around there, like so. So what it does is it takes the image like that, and it just draws an edge around it. And so using this, you can control the look and feel of various transparent objects. One thing that you could do potentially is, let me grab this image from F. So this is an image of like this fighter guy or whatever you want to call it. And you can see how he's got a red edge around him now because we've applied the outside edge detector. So we can control how thick or thin that line is and kind of just give it, in my opinion, a cool look. So that's outside edge detector. This one's called parallax sound waves, and it's just what you see there. It's just these various waves. You can control various things about it, like the frequency and whatnot. And this one is also more of a background or fill type of effect. Next one is called procedural rock, and really that's all it is. It's just like a rock texture, and you can control various things about it, the size and the background. That's really all there is to it. Next one's called Protean Clouds. Now this one is built into FL Studio in another menu. But what I've done is I've taken that original one, which is pretty much what the effect that you see on the screen right now. And then what I did is I changed it so that you can actually stop the wobble and just have a solid cloud like that. You can tell it not to do any twisting at all or give it some twist. You could turn off the color cycling and do various things. And that's kind of what I mean. Like this is actually an effect I wanted, was just a regular cloud tunnel. And Protean Cloud looked very close to what I wanted, but I just modified it to use the controls that I wanted. And this is by a user named Nimitz. The next one is called radar display. It's just a simple radar display. Nothing special about it. You could turn off the grid and you could turn off the blips, and that's really all there is. This next one's called realistic flag, and that is not a good logo to use. Let me just throw on a different logo. You could see how it kind of waves like a flag. Now obviously I don't think I have a flag texture here, so I can't really load it. But you could put any flag texture or any symbol that you wanted, and you can see how it waves like a flag. And you can control how fast it waves and how wavy it is and things like that. The next one I want to show you is RGB channel splitter. And it's already splitting the channels, but let me reset a few things here. It'll put all the channels together. Those of you who don't know, computer graphics are made using red, green, and blue. And if I set this to a different layer, dang it, let me see, where was my text layer? It was D. Okay, let me set it to layer D. So there's my text. For the sake of argument, I'm going to make my text all white. Now, when you see a color all white, what it's actually doing is it's mixing red, green, and blue together. Okay? And you can separate those colors from the rest using this effect. I think there is one similar to this in FL Studio already, but I did this one because I wanted it and didn't know about the other one. But what I mean by red shift and green shift, you could take the color out. So I could shift the red out of there, you see? And now the red, and I'll even shift it over to the side a little bit. And now the red is out of the picture. And you could do the same with the green. And you can see as I shift the green out, it leaves just the blue remaining. So that's what I'm saying. Where the colors mix, you'll see them overlay and mix. And what can you do with this? Really, it's up to you. I mean, it's just an effect that, I would probably use it something like where I just do something like this to make it look like a 3D type thing or something, but I've already spoken too much on that one. Then there's shape generator. Shape generator just generates shapes. That's really all it does. You can do outline or filled shapes. You control the thickness. You control, like, for example, if you notice the corners are very sharp, you can change the corner radius to make them rounder. You can control, like, there's a 3 side, 4 sides, 5 sides, etc. If you change the corner radius enough, it'll just turn into a circle so that you also have a circle. One of the things you can do is you can fill it with something. So you could fill it with an image if you wanted to. Let me just bring up a different image like that. Let me turn down the corner radius so you could see there. When you do move it, though, it moves across the image, almost like if you're looking at a spotlight on the image. And or you can use a solid color, however you want. So that's shape generator. We have these speed lines. These are like, I don't know, like anime style speed lines, to make something look like it's moving fast. We'll put the stealth guy in there just for effect there. But you can control various things like how fast the lines are, the color of the lines, and how long the lines are, etc. Next, we have Starfield Flight. This is absolutely one of my favorite ones in this pack. It's just a beautiful, slow-moving star field. You can control various things like the density of it, the rotation, the halo effect, the thinness of the star lines, and a bunch of other stuff. It's like I say, it's one of my favorites. This is meant to be kind of a backdrop. Oh, this is by a user named Arthur Stammet. And next one we have is called Stateless Smoke, and it's using the background image with the guy in it, but it's just like smoke like that. And then you could put some image in there like this, and actually this kind of looks pretty decent with the guy standing in the smoke. But that's what Stateless Smoke does. There's a bunch of options for it, like the width and the height and stuff like that. So you can play around with it. And then the last one, quite honestly, I'm going to include it. I'm not super impressed with it personally as I was when I first made it. But what this does is this takes an image and applies it to it, these lines. Let me move the NFX back up and make it a little bigger just so I could explain the effect to you. Basically what it does, I'm going to turn off the color cycle on it. Basically what it does is it takes these lines, a thin line, and then wherever the image is, it makes the line thicker. So you can see how it's lines and then they get thick where the NFX text would be. And you can control things like how thick the line should get or how thin. You can rotate the lines a little bit so they're not straight across, they're going at an angle. You could even add some curviness to the lines if you wanted to, and then you can add color cycling to the lines if needed also. Let me turn up the saturation and turn down the lightness here just so I could show you. So you can like have it like this, let's say, and then change the hue and get different effects out of it. And that's that. Now there are a couple other ones on here which I have pre-made presets for, just because they take a little bit of setup, and I wanted to be able to show them to you without putting you through the time it would take to set it up. So let me load the first one, which is the reflective floor. So what you're seeing here is the actual effect of the reflective floor with other effects in the scene. So to explain it, I'm not going to reset it all from scratch, but I'm going to turn off the reflective floor effect. Okay, and so now what you're seeing is a couple other effects layered on top of each other. you're seeing a starry sky. Let me actually turn these off so I can explain it. You're seeing a starry sky. This is from, I don't remember which pack, but it was from one of my other collections. It's using moon and clouds, again from one of the other collections, on top of the starry sky. It's using linear. This is a built-in peak effect. And if I hit play, you can see that's just an audio peak effect, right? So that's what I'm starting with. And then I'm adding the reflective floor effect. And what that does is an image source, you could have it set to none, but you want it set to an image with transparency. So I have this Stone NFX, which is transparent in the background, and I can put that on there. And then I can control the horizon line. You can see the horizon line moving there. And I'm going to line it up to the bottom of that picture, right? And then it's using ripples in it. But you could turn the ripples off if you just wanted like a straight reflective floor, let's just say. We could turn off that lighting. You could see how it's just like that sitting on a reflective surface. And you can control various things like how much the background, or in this case the sky, reflects off the floor. You can control that amount. You can control the foreground, which is this image here, the NFX image, how much that reflects off the floor. And then like you saw before, you can add ripples to it to make it look like a water effect. And when you do that, or at least when I do that, I also want to give it some color just to make it kind of blue like water, and you could see what the effect does. And then because I had the audio thing on there, that will be reflected also. And that's called the reflective floor effect. And then the final one, let me go to it. In this case, it's car and tunnel, but the effect isn't car and tunnel. This is just me, how I've chosen to use the effect. Let me turn off some things so I can explain the effect to you. And then I'll turn them back on, and you'll kind of understand how I created the effect. So the original effect is called 3D hallway. And if I turn off that, 3D hallway basically by default will show you a ceiling, a floor, and two walls like you see there. And you can control the width of the room and things like that. You can control how fast it moves forward, backwards, etc. And so that's the effect. It's called 3D hallway. Now, the way I've chosen to show you the demo of it is you can turn off the floor, the ceiling, and the left and right as needed. So in this case, what I've done is I've made the room the size I wanted and the speed I wanted, and then I've copied it 3 times. I've cloned it. And then what I'll do is on one of the clones, I will say, I only want to show the floor. And then I'll find a texture or an image of this road that I put on the floor. So that makes it look like it's a road that's moving, you see? And then I've done the same thing with the ceiling, which is just kind of this dark ceiling, and it uses a different texture for the ceiling. And then I've done the same thing with the walls. And the walls are using this texture that maybe looks like it's got lights. And then these 2 stripes are actually coming from a peak effect right here, which I've kind of built that. So when I hit play, you can see the peak effect happening on the wall right there. And then in addition to that, I've added a color correction, which just kind of brightens the image a lot. And then a color overlay, which it's a blue overlay, but it's almost nearly transparent. It's just to kind of help give a slight blue effect to things. And then I took a transparent car and I put it in the picture. And then you could see it looks like the car is potentially driving, in the tunnel there, and you could, make it change lanes and I don't know, whatever you wanted to do with it. And then when you play the music. So this is just, in my opinion, was a creative way of taking the 3D hallway and showing you how it could potentially be used in your own stuff. So that's all of the things. Hopefully you will find some use and enjoyment in it. And remember to download the package and install it. If you have Windows, use the installer. It'll make it really easy for you to get access to everything. Also included in that, by the way, is going to be some assets. There'll be a folder called assets that will extract and install into the location. You can look at it, and it'll have some of the textures that you see here and some backgrounds and basically some stuff for you to use, which I'm not going to demo, but like just different graphic assets that you can use for yourself. So hopefully you guys have fun playing around with it. If you guys want to see anything specific, let me know, whether it's maybe a tutorial that you want me to do, or an effect that you want me to try to recreate or something, or you just want to say something. Please do put something in the chat. I'm going to ask that you like and share if you feel like it. And this is NFX saying I'll catch you guys in the next one.